Last week we learned to Sikha on Sunday about Geborim B'Yad Chaloshim Ram Matam Tmeim B'Yad Toidim. It's just was a beautiful Sikha. So I realized that there's a shaykhus to this Parsha. First of all, it says Vateirev Masas Benyamin Masas Kolum Chomesh Yodav Zukterev Naftali of Ropshitz. Why Chomesh Yodas? Because the Beis Hamikdash in the part of Benyamin. And there was Geborim B'Yad Chaloshim Ram B'Yad Me'atim Tmeim B'Yad Toidim Mishonim B'Yad Tzadikim Zaydim B'Yad Oiski Seresech, the 5 Yodas. And the Bnai Yisufscha says Chomesh is B'Gematria Chodesh Mila and Shabbos, which are the 3 main decrees that the Greeks have against the Jew. I don't want to go back into that Sikha, but it's a Mamish Mosef Midvash. I just figured this are cute 2 tidbits.
Yaakov should also give the name Shas.
To who?
Benjamin.
Why B'Shas?
Well, because his name was Maros to all the Yeshuas.
Shinayin Ahoydin, I should have given my bazai. Shinayin.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a woman that she invited her family, or she called up one of the cousins and she invited the family for a Hanukkah party. And then when the cousin called back, it turned out that one of the relatives, who's a goy, not a goy, is a yid who married a shiksa, is intending to come to the party. So the husband was really upset about this, because the husband said, how can you allow a man such a thing? How could you allow this at a Hanukkah party to come to a Hanukkah party lighting the menorah? So what's taka the din? So I not every Sheilos has to be a rocket science Sheilah with a pilpul naktzos and nasivas, but it was a Sheilah. Sometimes the Sheilos that are ktzos and nasivas take 5 minutes to answer, and sometimes Sheilos that seem simple could take 5 hours to answer. But so
Shalom bias issue also.
So the Shulchan Aruch, the Alter Rebbe writes like this in Dinei Noam Gnevas Das. A person has to be very careful with his wife, not to give her pain with his words, because her tear is close to come. If a person makes his wife cry, so the puronius comes very quickly. That person should always be very careful on the kavod of his wife. That the bracha in his house is only because of his wife. If you machabed your wife, you'll become wealthy. So people ask wealthy people, what's the secret? So Zolsta wissen what's the secret. And however you do it, that I mentioned this once, it was a year ago or 2 years ago, and someone that was sitting at the shir came later and said that the Boduk and Menusa, that he works with a fellow and the Mamish, and Boduk and Menusa, the guy makes sure to machabed his wife in the most incredible way, and it works, and it works, and it works. He's
wealthy?
Yeah. Yeah. It works. So it's a raya that it's Boduk and Menusa that it works. It's a raya that it works. You can't argue with the Metzias. It works.
Well, you're not allowed to test Hashem on that.
Who says he's testing?
I'm just saying you're only allowed to test with stuff.
It was already tested. We know it works. So Mela, when we spoke about it 2 years ago, also I mentioned that this is mamish. This is, you see, an unbelievable thing. The Gemara says that Rabbi said it to Bnei Mechuzah. It's the Gemara daf the end of the 4th Perek in Baba Metzia. But in the end of Baba Kama, the Gemara says that you're not allowed to take from women gifts that are very for tzedakah that are a lot, because maybe the husband is makbid. The Gemara says a story of Ravina that came to Mechuzah, and the women used to give him big fat pieces of jewelry, and he took it. The Gemara asked, how is that mutter? The Gemara says, Shani b'nei Mechuzah, these people were so wealthy, they were happy when the woman gave away their jewelry, so they had something new to buy them as a gift. They were happy when the woman gave away the jewelry. So we see that Rava said, and they listened, and Taka Azoy, they were very wealthy. So you see, it's Bodek and Menusa. The Rambam writes at the end of Hilchas Chanukah, Hoy lefon of Ner Beisav and Ner Chanukah and Ner Beisav and Kiddush Hayoim, Ner Beisav Koidem. That if the Shabbos candle or Hanukkah candle, Shabbos candle comes first. Shum Shalom Beisav, that's connected with the Shalom Bayis. Shere Hashem Nimchik Lasa Shalom, here I have plenty of papers. Shere Hashem Nimchik Lasa Shalom and Ishel Ishtoi Godla Shalom. Shekol HaTorah Nisa Lasa Shalom Ba'olam, the whole Torah was given to make Shalom. Shenema Darchei Darchinoim V'chol Nisa V'seh Shalom. So B'meila, there's no question that it's not written anywhere that a goy is not allowed to be at the Hanukkah party. There is an issue on Yom Tov. Lahevi Yadua. Well, that wasn't the Shaila at hand, but the Yom Tov, you're not allowed to have a goy over for a meal. It's a problem for a Chabad house or Dom that you have in Makar. Shabbos you're allowed to.
Why is that? I never
Yom Tov the Chazal, because Shabbos you're going to cook before Shabbos. You can't cook extra on Shabbos. If the goy is going to come, or two goyim are going to come, you're always going to cook Erev Shabbos. But on Yom Tov, where the Chazal were goyzer, Shema Yarba B'Shviloi, you're not going to realize that the cousin with the shiksa and then her friend and her friend's friend are going to come together with another friend, and then you look in your pot and there's not enough food, and you end up cooking for the goy and Shabbos. That's not what the Torah was matir. So only that's an issue to invite a goy on Yom Tov. But otherwise,
Could I say something?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, you can't give a blanket heter because sometimes chicks is not dressed properly, and they don't respect they don't even know what sneeze is, so that they may not wear a bathing suit, but they'll wear pants, and then the kids can learn from it.
that could be eaten also.
Right.
That has nothing to do.
No, well, usually a frum family doesn't have a family that's not usually that doesn't dress properly. It could be that they do. So
Okay, so
why
that's
don't you have to
a
worry about that? And what
that's a
about
separate
if
thing.
you have wine? Maybe you have
A person should do whatever it is to make
As long
sure
as there
his
are no
wife is happy.
coolers. No, but she can't.
Even if this person married a good Lachas, like he's from here, then decide he's marrying a shit.
No, it wasn't from here.
Well,
Because of Vader.
well,
He was just whatever.
the Bederach Klal depends. I mean, in some cases that's the case, but in a lot of cases, unfortunately, today is Tinokas Shenishbu, and they not only they didn't know, their parents didn't know.
In how many cases?
I understand. I'm
It's
not,
unbelievable how
I'm
many.
not saying. I'm just saying it's not a blanket heter. You can't give it a blanket heter.
You have to be careful. That's all.
The wife sometimes is not as micro on certain things, but if you're going against halacha, one second. If you're going against halacha, shalom bayis is not the pre-eminent thing. It's as long as you're within halacha.
There's still an opportunity to do kira for a Jew who's married to a goy. That's a very big mitzvah to do kira for even though he's married to a goy.
As long as it's not sharing other people's ruchnias.
That's true.
Okay, next Shaila.
So I had a question.
Yeah.
I had a lot of seder in the house.
Yeah.
And I had a family, husband and wife, and two boys, goyim.
Goyim. So,
But they become Jews and they're very religious now.
okay, so.
Somebody sent it to me. I said, I can say no, but I have to watch. Yeah, Nesach and all the stuff,
Okay. A second Shaila.
Yossi has a shadow.
Oh, yeah.
Is the problem if the person is going to go and cook himself, the Yid is going to go cook, or the
The
non-Jew
Yid.
is
No, Chas v'Sholom. A goy is not going to walk into Yid's kitchen. Well, we're not going to let a goy into our kitchen. Chas v'Sholom. They'll make everything in the pots not be bishalakim. And the pots will be
I have
treif.
a half here.
The kash of the pots afterwards. Okay, next Shaila. Shaila is, even though we already went through the sugya so many times, Lehevi Amina, that l'choyre, what's left in the sugya, but I see that Lepal Mamish, there's something left. There's something left in the sugya. Hafach ba v'hafach ba, exactly.
Kulava.
So there is the shaila is what can no thank you so much, it's fine. Shaila is if there's a kiddish in a shul, a kiddish, there's kichlach, there's herring, kiddish kiminik chasidei poilen, a kiddish after shachris, I like herring with kichlach, with schnapps. So what's the bracha? So the reason I'm not mentioning, because even though we learned l'chayre so many times about this, but I see l'poel mamish that it doesn't resonate with people. So I just want to read it inside what the Alter Rebbe writes. The Alter Rebbe writes like this, and I'm going to mitzvah focus on inyanim that we didn't cover, in the summer, because I left it out, but I figured today we have it's Hanukkah, we can a bissel the schus of the Oyer Torah Hanukkah, we could go a little bit be'iyun. Shabbos before Raiva the Raiva, and the head is not working, but today the head's working. So the Alter Rebbe writes like this: a person that eats cake, kirchlach cake, less than 6 beitzim, v'uloi sava, and he's not full. So it's 2 milas. He ate less than what is considered a kviyasuda. Also, he's not satisfied. So 2 milas. You make a beitzim salamichya. Im sava mimenu. If a person did become satisfied, then he can make birchas hamazon and a moitzi on the cake. No problem. He washes and makes a moitzi on the cake and birchas hamazon on the cake. It's not a problem.
He says if you will become sober from it.
Yeah, he knows he's going to become summer. Yeah. He knows he's going to become sober. That's if he ate the shear of 4 beitzim. We spoke about this, that Baruch Chaim Noah holds that the klal kabetz is about 2 ounces, if you went to go with weight. Really it's volume. If it's less, you should make an amoitzi and another kazayis. Why? Because it's a suffix, so therefore you should take another kazayis lechem and make a amoitzi v'achar b'chsamazon. So we spoke about this many times, the golden rule according to the Alter Rebbe, that if you eat more than 4 kibbetzim and sova of cake, you make a moitzi v'chsamazon. If you eat less than 6 and loy sova, you make mezanis nalamich. Anything else is a suffix. You have to wash in a kazayis a different bread. That means if a person eats a kiddish and he gets full, so now it's a suffix deiraisa, if he has to bench or not. And was tutman? So the chatchilu should be a chochem and wash in a kazayis of bread. Chatchilu, you should wash on a kazayis of bread, and then you have no shaila. As soon as you eat one kazayis and sova, then you have a suffix. Why? Because it's the suffix is, since Torah says v'chalta v'savota and you're sova, so the Torah says v'chalta v'savota uveirach. The Torah was not mechalik between bread and cake and cookies. It makes no difference. The Torah was v'chalta v'savota, anything that's flour and water and went into the oven and came out of the oven. What's enough? I mean, as long as it's not kasha, that's cooked in a pot. But if it's baked in the oven, what
about the rest of the food? Is that also starved?
So what's about the extra rest of the food? So here is very important nakuda, which could be a very big kula. I want to go through 3 nakudas in the Alter Rebbe. One nakuda is like this. Here, what's the eitzah? Hachitov, the best eitzah by far is little yodov kazayis lechem acher, to wash on a kazayis of challah, and you eat a kazayis, and there's no problem. In the beginning of Simon Kufayin Zen, the Alter Rebbe writes, and the Mishabura brings it too. If a person doesn't really want to eat bread, well, there's a whole shaila. He's going to wash on bread, and then he has no shailas in the bracha. It's a suffix, he says. Usually the bread is the main thing of the meal, but today that's not the main thing. You're only washing and eating bread because you have a suffix and brachas. But the shaila is, does that work or not?
That's not the only reason though why he's washing.
Oh, if that's the only reason, that's the problem.
Person also likes bread.
Usually, so then it's not a problem. Yeah, usually it's not a problem.
If you're hungry for cake, you're also hungry for bread.
Usually,
you just don't want to bench.
90% of the time it's not a problem. But in that case, punkt. However, but there's an interesting thing. Alter Rebbe has a kiddish. Shabbos and Yom Tov, even if you're sure that you're not interested in the bread, you're allowed to wash, because Shabbos is kaveh. You're not mechuyev to eat Shabbos pas. So even for argument's sake, even that 1% or 10% of people that are not interested in the bread, usually forget you're hungry. So what are the difference of cake or bread? Cake, bread. You're hungry. You want to eat. But even if you're going to say, I don't want the bread, I really want to eat the cake. What's the difference of Shabbos and Yom Tov? You could always wash in a kazayis of bread, and there's no shaila with that. So that's the best eitzah. Second eitzah is, the Alter Rebbe writes, and someone just asked a good question. The Alter Rebbe writes, what do you mean sava? Im oichlim lifton amasbia, if you eat with lifton, which makes you satisfied. A person eats the cake with fish, he eats it with meat, He eats it with herring. It's as if he became satisfied from the bread. Because the Torah says, the Torah doesn't say you must eat only bread. And what's it? I like to eat bread and chatzelim, and I like to eat carrot salad, and I like to eat fish and meat. The Torah says that means a suda. So the same thing if you eat crackers with herring and dips, and it's a sabazach. Wow. As long as you get sava, so then it's counted. It's counted. So if you eat one kazais and sava, it's already a suffix. If you can eat 4 kibbetzim, you could make berachas namazon. It's not that much, 4 kibbetzim, if you're very hungry. You can end up eating 4 kibbetzim of eir kichlach and cake. It's not that loy nifleisi v'loy rechoike. Huh?
No, just
this is what I want to say.
4 kibbetzim is like two sufganiyot.
Right, you can get to it. It's not
2 Johnny Dolls would probably be 4 kibbetzim.
Yeah,
could be more.
Maybe it depends the size of the.
Yeah, but it's about that.
Yeah, you can get
that much.
Right,
it's not that much.
That's what he's saying.
So most kiddishes, people really have to bet.
Exactly.
That's the point. That's the point.
I mean, that's really unbelievable.
It is unbelievable.
That's a healthy diet.
That's unbelievable.
No, it is unbelievable. It is unbelievable.
Especially if there's 2 kinds of kugels and then there's cake and this, you're up the creek if you don't binge.
Right. So there is a shtickle kula. The Alter Rebbe mashma that it's only sava if it's the things that usually accompany the bread. But if you eat potato kugel or chol, maybe those are things that are not considered accompany the bread.
It has to be considered company because during the regular studio you make a bracha on it.
True, because there's 2 gedorim. There's things that are malafis the pas, and there are things that are boim machma suuda. So the suuda is like a king to everything, but here the Alter Rebbe is mashma that sava is only things that you would put into a sandwich. You know, lettuce, meat, but things like, but you never make a potato kugel sandwich. You'd make in a sandwich, you'd put salad, lettuce, herring, you'd put maybe fish, lox, you'd put anything that's called the lafas hapas. But the kasha, kugel, chont, you never make a chont sandwich. I mean, it's not...
Unless you're famished.
Yeah. So okay, that's a kula. I'm saying it's mashma this way from the Alter Rebbe. But for sure the first 8 is the best. Now what happens if a person ate by a kiddish and he realizes he's eating a little more and a little more, and so if you already ate 4 kibbetzim and sova, you just take a bench and you bench berachas hamazon, no problem. The question is, so that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. This we'll see soon inside. We'll read it inside. The question is, if you're in the middle of eating and you see that you're starving and you want to eat a little more, what should you do now? Why am I telling you? Because in the summer I didn't talk about this, because it's a complicated halacha. And I see in the Alter Rebbe's name, there's a Sefer Piskei Tshuvos, and there's other svarim. Everyone says their own thing in the Alter Rebbe's name. Chidushim shaloi neschad shalom Moshe Sinai. I don't know why they have to make such chidushim. The Alter Rebbe says clearly what he holds. So what they say in the name of the Alter Rebbe, Nishnageh to repeat, I'll just read word for word what the Alter Rebbe says, and you see clearly what the Alter Rebbe holds. The Alter Rebbe writes, and it's just the old Shulchan Aruch of the Alter Rebbe, there's like a mix-up. They put in pieces of the Siddur and the Shulchan Aruch, you don't know what. But now it's very clear, and I'll read both, what the Alter Rebbe writes in the Siddur and the Shulchan Aruch. It's very clear what the Alter Rebbe holds. It's a complicated thing. Mishnah Berurah also leaves it with a tzarechiyun, because it's not clear. Anyway, but the Alter Rebbe, you'll see what the Alter Rebbe says. The Alter Rebbe writes, a person ate a little bit of cake, and then he said, you know what, I'm hungry already. I'm staying at the kiddish, I'm going to eat kidei svia, kvi yisuda. There's 2 things. Svia means I'm full. Kvi yisuda means that most people would become full from this amount, which is a minimum of 4 kibbetzim. Nochem lotz is called sofik. The best thing is to not have any sofik, to do like this. Lavarech tchila mein gimel. To make an alamicha. V'yishim at, wait a little bit. And then Yitul Yodov, you should wash hands, Vivarach HaMoitzi, and make a moitzi on the cake or the crackers. V'yoichel Nishiri Ad Kedei Svia Vivarach Bechas HaMazon. V'ushachel Bacharena Kedal Beitzim Lepachas. At ease, you have to eat 4 beitzim. It's the only eitzah the Alter Rebbe gives in the Siddur. And the reason that he gives only this eitzah, and he ignores what he said in the Shulchan Aruch, which we'll read soon, because I think the Alter Rebbe holds that this is the best thing. At the end of the day, everything is nice here. You made a mezoinus, you made an alamichya, you made a hamoitzi, you made a berachas hamazon. Everything makes sense. You didn't make twice the bracha mezoinus and twice the bracha alamichya, like the Sefer Piskei Tshuvos says the Alter Rebbe holds. I don't know how he saw that in the Alter Rebbe's words. But everything works out nice. You ended up, so you did the right thing at the end. You made a mezainis, you made alamich. The only thing he says, wait a little bit in between, because it might be a bracha she'ena tzricha. What? So therefore, you make mezainis. Now you realize, make alamichya, wait a little bit, a few minutes, then go wash, eat kedala beitzim, sava, everything is neat. But what happens if you don't want to eat that much? You're not in the mood of eating so much. So the Alter Rebbe doesn't say in the Siddur. But in the Shulchan Aruch, the Alter Rebbe says what you should do. The Alter Rebbe says, if you had in mind to eat a little bit, and then he changed his mind, he changed his mind, and he ate more and more, and he ate the shear that most people would be kaveh suda, which is like 4 kibetzim or maybe 6 kibetzim. So you should make a brichas hamazon, even though you didn't make a moitza before. The Alter Rebbe says, this is that he didn't have an amount of kaveh suda that he's not planning to eat another 4 kibetzim. So if he's not planning to eat another 4 kibetzim, so just keep on eating until you're going to get full, and you ate the shir kaveh suda, and then just bench. So it's mashma from the Alter Rebbe that it's not bad if you're not planning to eat another 4 kibetzim, you're just going to eat, and the sum total will be that you ate 4 kibetzim and so just keep on eating, and when you finish eating, bench. In the beginning you made a mezainis, and the end you benched, and it seems like a contradiction.
Right. No problem.
We can live with that. We can live with that. It's not a problem. We can live with that.
Why wasn't he, when he was nimlach, why didn't he just make a moitza now on the next 2 beitzim of
it's masha from the Alter Rebbe, you don't have to do that. And maybe you're not even allowed. If you're going to make an alechem acher on a real bread then that's not a problem. And you make al-michya yishamaat, and then wash. It's nothing wrong by doing that, and I saw someone saying that the Alter Rebbe holds you have to do that. The Alter Rebbe doesn't say that, but the only case when you really have to do that is if you're not planning in the sum total to eat 4 kibetzim and sova, but you're only sova, so it's a suffix now. So then you're mechuyev really, if you have bread, to go and wash and eat a kazayis of other bread. In the worst scenario case, if you made an alamichya, according to the Alter Rebbe, you are not oiver adiraisa, because the Alter Rebbe holds as the machloikis. If when the Torah says v'chalta v'savota, the Torah meant 3 brachas, or alamichya is good enough midayrais. It's a machloikas apoyim. The Alter Rebbe holds l'kula. The Alter Rebbe holds if instead of benching you made an alamichya, you are yoytza. You're not over the deraisa.
You were mekayim at deraisa maybe.
You're mekayim. Elamai Moshe Rabbeinu made a takona to Yeshua and David HaMelech. You shouldn't, be mezalz on the takon of Moshe Rabbeinu.
Which is birkas hamazon.
Yeah, because Moshe Rabbeinu decided we should make it not 1 bracha but 3 brachas.
Is that why Chabad is makel? You see, like
No.
Chabad is the most makel with mezainis bread that I've seen.
No. I'll tell you why.
I don't mean to be mezalz on
I'll tell you. I'll tell you why.
And you see that all they give out is mezainis bread.
I'll tell you very much why. Because my Zayd always used to be bothered. He said a cake before davening. He says, my father, what? A cake before davening. My father used to never eat cake before davening. Chas v'sholom, cake before davening. My father used to wash. And he used to eat bread and water before davening. Cake before davening? What's with a cake? Who eats cake? So
no, he's saying bread and water.
Bread and water. Because he knew he's going to die.
Cake is geschmack. You're not allowed to have types before.
Yeah, why all
right, so we're going to ditch the potato kugel. We're going to put out the porridge.
So your grandfather was the real deal.
Yes, I'm saying. So in Chabad, if they're looking at the older generation, they didn't need any cake and they didn't need any mezainis bread. They didn't need any of these things. So there's no mesoida about this. There's no mesoida about this. In other kihillas, Yidden that came from Hungary or even Kalitzia,
and they were hungry.
Exactly. And not only they were hungry, but they had a little bit of raisins and cinnamon. They had some good stuff.
It was warm over there.
Yeah, they had wine. They had epis to eat and to drink. The Yidden and Litva in Russia had nothing. They had nothing, mamish. Mamish had nothing. I remember when we were talking about this Atoy V'Ameitiv. No, they didn't. I'm talking about a place like Ukraine. I remember I asked Rabbi Heller about Atoy V'Ameitiv because we were giving them a shiur. It was 2-3 years ago. And he told me a cute thing. He said he once, Dov Povarsky told him, Rosh Hashiva in Ponovich, that he remembers when he came with his father from the first Shabbos, when he came from Litva to Eretz Yisrael, and he saw people making kiddish and wine. He said, "This is not our minig." To make kiddish on wine? You make kiddish on challah. Who makes kiddish on wine? Who makes kiddish on wine?
My father.
They didn't have Nebuch wine. They didn't have wine. They didn't have wine. In Hungary they had wine. In Litva they didn't have wine.
Rabbi, the mitzvah is to make 100 brachot in Shabbat. So why?
Every day.
Every day.
But Shabbat's a little harder because it's harder. It's a little harder to get.
So give him a chance. Let's make mezonos, hamotzi, bekat Amazon. Give him more chances to make more.
When you bench, you're also making many brachas.
Yeah, because when you bench, you make a lot of brachas. You make alantel sedayim hamotzi, and at the end you're making 4 brachas. So in a suda you get 1 knack, 6 brachas.
And if you bench with a million,
right, and then you can get an agafan too. You get an agafan. An alagefen. The thing is, if you didn't bench, you don't usually get an alagefen. But if you're listening, you can always say amen and take a little bit, or take a little bit of koshel bracha. It'll give you a 7th bracha.
My list Fisher Rosh Hashiva told me that I think according to the Gra, you're not supposed to say Baruch Shemoi when the Chazan tells Chazar Zashas, so that you could be moitze chabarayim mea brachas also from the Chazar Zashas.
Oh wow, you hit on the next shiloh that I have here. Wow, such protis.
I'm just saying that I don't remember if it was for the Gra, but I remember he always said he used to shot all the Bachrim.
They shouldn't say Baruch Shemoi.
Everyone's looking at him, what are you, whacked? Who does that? It's still highly yamazeh, even most of the yeshivas don't do it. But he was very frum, and he made everyone be quiet and not say Baruch Shemoi. He would look around, make sure no one say Baruch Shemoi, so that they would answer amen to the chazan. All right.
Yeah. You know, these holy shahs about food, it's only relevant in this past century in America.
Right.
Because there's
people didn't have it.
They never had food. I mean, it was people would eat.
The bottom line is,
they would,
you only make mezonos in the morning. So if you have a muffin and a coffee, you make a mezonos. Or for lunch, like we went through this a lot of time. Lanius daiti, there is such a thing as mezonos, but that's when you eat a little bit. You're on the run and you're eating a sandwich. Because you don't have time to wash and this. So, but whenever you sit down for a sit down, shalom zocher, it doesn't matter. Even cake. The people sometimes miss the thing. The campaign against the mazonos bread. Whenever you sit down for a meal, so then the cake, like a kiddish, and people eat a lot of cake and kichlach. The problem is that easily you become sova, and then it's already a suffix deraisa.
Especially if you shalom zocher because you're coming from your student.
Right.
You're already full, yeah.
Right, and that's all a shaila. You can argue with everyone, you can argue, but still, there's always a shaila. There's always, as soon as you're sava, there's always a shaila. The best thing is, either if you know you can eat enough cake, you can wash on the cake, or if you already ate accidentally, you make bichas hamazon. It's not gefährlich. So you make bichas hamazon. What's wrong? You did the right thing. That's it.
How about 2 questions? One is, can you use it as a barometer that you're not sova if you still have the appetite to go home and wash and eat suda?
Yeah.
So that means that you're really not sova.
Yeah.
And also, let's say you.
But if you're going to come home and eat because your wife is going to be upset, that's not a barometer. And then you're going to have a stomachache till Tuesday. That's not a.
That's not. My wife knows. that's one thing I'm not mechana for. If I don't like the food, I don't eat it.
Okay.
And you have to tell her it's delicious.
No, I do. Even the stuff that I don't eat, I said, this smells so geschmack. I can't eat it. I got full just of smelling it. So that's one thing. Another thing is that, let's say you do get the sova at the thing, can you be sova later on the birchas hamazon? If you have a mind, let's say you say, I'm not sure if I'm going to be sova or not. But if I do become sova, instead of having to wash down moitzi and this, I'll go back home and make a moitzi on challah and not even make a bracha.
No good.
Because you might be, because you're saying, because al-mich might be a deraisa, so knows you're already mechayiv in the al-mich.
Right.
So it's not going to help you to go on and bench later on.
Right.
As it would be if you were in the same suda.
Right.
Even though,
right. 100%. Yes.
Even if you have a mind, you say.
Even if you have a mind, yes.
even if you have it in mind.
Even if you have it in mind.
I'm just saying.
Is that what the Alter Rebbe said?
Yes.
Once I'm cooked, then I get.
Should we do one more shaila?
It's the seventh day.
Okay. Not working? Okay. One more shaila. A person asked me the shaila, he said Baruch Shemoi by Abdullah. They're making Abdullah in shul, and he was wanted to be Yoitza, and he made Baruch Shemoi. He made Baruch V'Shema. It's a common mistake. A person could happen. So, Ashgocha Protis, this happened a couple of weeks ago, and Punkt that week we were learning about it and this happens. People ask me the Sheilos not once. There's people ask a lot of times the Shaila, and someone just mentioned the Taka. What's the Inyan of Baruch V'Shema? So I just as a Beferish Alter Rebbe talks about this. So the Alter Rebbe writes like this. Al kol bracha she'adam shemea b'chol makom noegim leima baruch hu baruch shemai. The minig Yisrael is when you hear a person make a bracha, you say baruch hu baruch shemai. It's not a halacha in Shulchan Aruch. That is from the Shas. Al shem hakosav, because the pasuk says ki shem Hashem akra ha'v goydel lekeinu. Void afilik shemasket tzadik basav adom tzarich levarach shenot seich tzadik levarach. Even when you hear the name of a tzadik, you have to say zeich tzadik levarach. Like I mentioned here, that there was a very choshev Rav that asked me once. He doesn't understand why Chabad had such a rash when to say about Lubavitcher Rebbe Zeichat Tzadik Livrocha. He said we learned Zeichat Tzadik Livrocha from Noach, and Noach was the Chalav, and we learn from Noach, and we say that because Hoyli Skirei Bircha Shenema Zeichat Tzadik Livrocha. So what's so gefährlich to be Mechaber Lubavitcher Rebbe say Zeichat Tzadik Livrocha? I'm not kidding. I really had a good laugh from this. He was right. Because this is a minig, this is not a tikkun chacham. Because it's a minig, you can't be mafsik. And feel of a makom shemuter la'afsik la'niyas. I'm going to the zimra. Even if it's muter be mafsik la'psuk the zimra, for any dovish b'kedusha, you can't stop to say Baruch V'Shema, because Baruch V'Shema is not brought in the Shas. It's not a dovish b'kedusha. The Alter Rebbe adds, "Mechol makom k'shemei Baruch Miskam Latzlech V'Asa B'Shmei going kiddish Avdala Berechos Apeiros V'Mitzvos." Any time that you hear a bracha and you have to be yoytze, kiddish, Avdala, anything, Berechos Mitzvos, Loyana, you hear the menorah, the Hadlik Ner, Hanukkah or Shel Hanukkah, whatever you know. Loyana Baruch V'Shema. You shouldn't say Baruch V'Shema. Sheri Shemei Ka'oina. Because when you're listening, it's as if you're saying it. This is the Alter Rebbe's question. You're not, maybe why? He's mafsik between the Hashem and Malchus. But over Shein Matikin Chachamim. V'azay ze meshanim matbei shatav Chachamim brachos. V'tzorich lahazir l'ravim shenichsholim bazad. Alter Rebbe says you should be mazir because people are nichshol in this. Because we spoke about this when we learned this. The l'chayda, what it's a kiddish. The Alter Rebbe is saying, what's the suffix? Baruch Ato Hashem Elokeinu Melech. When you say Baruch Hu V'Shema between Hashem and Elokeinu, that's not the problem. That's not the problem. The problem is that you said Baruch Hu V'Shema between Hashem and Melech. What's the problem? Because the Gemara has a machloikis. Rav says, Kol Bracha She'ein Ba Shem Hashem Ein Bracha. Rabbi Yochanan says, Kol Bracha She'ein Ba Malchus Ein Bracha. We paskin like Rabbi Yochanan. The question is, what did Rabbi Yochanan mean? To say, besides saying Hashem's name, you also have to say Malchus? Or no? You have to say Hashem and Malchus. It's one thing. Like Chassidus says, that when Avraham Avinu went around to the world, he said, not Keil Ha'olam, Keil Olam. That is not the pshat. There's an Eibishter and a Welt. That there's two separate things. Keil Olam. The Eibishter is present in every place and in every moment of the world. So how could you be mafsik? You could. That's the suffix. Did Rabbi Yochanan say you have to say Shem and Malchus? Or no, you have to say Baruch Ato Hashem. Which Hashem? It's the Melech Hashem. That's Melech Ha'olam. And if you made a hefsek, it's a suffix in the mind of the Alter Rebbe. If you b'chlal yoytze the bracha or not. So what should you do l'mais? Alter Rebbe doesn't say what to do l'mais. The Rabbi Avraham Chaim Noah says that if it's Avdollah, you can't make it again because maybe you're yoytze, but you should hear Avdollah from another person. You should hear it again from a different person.
Without saying Baruch Hu V'Shema.
Without saying Baruch Hu V'Shema. If you said it again, then you should hear from a third person, a fourth person.
You went next week.
Oh, but based on what we just said in the time of the Milza, there's a big difference where you said the Baruch Hu V'Shema. If you said it in the beginning, which is Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech Ha'olam, that's the suffix. But if you said Baruch Hu V'Shema at the end,
you mean the first Bracha of Baruch Hu?
No,
you can't say Baruch Hu V'Shema probably.
Wherever there's Melech, the problem is by Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech Ha'olam B'Rei Pri HaGofen.
You can.
No, you can't.
Well, you're not going to drink from the wine.
Doesn't matter. It's Shemei Ka'oina, and you have to be Yoitza.
But
you have to.
He's Yoitza. You're saying it's not like kiddish though.
No.
You're not chuyev al pidin to hear B'Rei Pri HaGofen and Abdullah.
I hear your taina, but I don't think it's correct because you have to. Even if you didn't drink bepoil, but it has to be that you could drink if you would wish to drink. But now you can't drink even if you wish to drink. So I hear about your Shaila. The emphasis the Alter Rebbe was when he's talking about Abdullah was not talking about the Boire Priyagofen part. He's talking about Baruch Atah Hashem Melachel Mamavdel Men Kodesh L'Chel Ben Ur L'Choshem Ben Yisrael Amim. So your question is a good question. Maybe Taka, maybe this suffix is a less of a suffix. Maybe it's a svek sveike. Svek sveike and Bracha is a complicated
subject. You
subject.
don't have to go to the third time.
Even Chazor
One second. But that's not going to be a suffix. Baruch Atah Hashem Hamavdel Ben Kodesh L'Chel. If you said Baruch Hu V'Shmei over there, it's not a problem because over there there's no Shem U'Malchus. Over there there's no Shem U'Malchus. It's only when you said Baruch Hu V'Shmei when there's Shem U'Malchus. Like by Avdolah, Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam Hamavdel Ben Kodesh L'Chel Ben Ur L'Choshem Ben Yisrael Amim Ben Yom Yishvil L'Shem Baruch Atah Hashem Hamavdel Ben Kodesh L'Chel. At the end, there's no Shem U'Malchus. So if you're there over there, you say Baruch Hu V'Shmei. It's no problem.
Chazor Shashatz, it's because the Gra was makbid not to say Baruch Hu V'Shemo. You know that.
So why would those that are makbid is for the simple reason because if you're gonna the original takana of Shmoneh Esrei is for the people to be yotzei.
Right.
So if they're going to say Baruch Hu V'Shmoi,
It's a hefsek.
they're not yotzei. They're not yotzei.
But no one does it today.
Okay, L'Poel, fine. Because L'Poel, we are yotzei.
We daven our own Shmoneh
Because we
Esrei.
have our own
So
Shmoneh
therefore,
Esrei.
you can't say.
But not
you
the
can
Temanim.
say.
I went to a
I say,
Temanite shul.
they
and
don't-
I went to a Temanite shul over here on East 12th in Jay.
Yeah.
They all listen to the Chazan, and they all say they don't.
And they don't say Baruch Hu
They
V'Shmoi?
don't no.
And if they're listening to
Because they're listening and they're
Yotzei.
Yotzei.
Shomei Kakoreh.
Okay, to summarize, if you say Baruch Hu Baruch Shmoi between Shem and Malchus, the Alter Rebbe holds it's a problem,
Thank you.
and therefore you see Taka by Siddur Kiddushin, the Rav always says to the Chosn Kala to be very careful, because what's if the Chosn Kala going to say Baruch Hu Baruch Shmoi? They're going to have to go now to a different chuppah, and here again, it's very complicated.
Oh my gosh.
So you have to be careful not to say Baruch Hu Baruch Shmoi. If you already said Baruch Hu Baruch Shmoi, so if it's something like Avdolah, that it's a suffix, the Taka have to hear the Avdolah from someone else. The ikad is the Taka in our life that we should never make a hefsek between Hashem and Malchus. We should be able to see that Malchus is a koil mashallah, and that's Taka the hepech of the Yevonim. The Yevonim, they Shemaim l'Hashem l'avoritz nosen v'nei Adam. But the Maccabi see that Mika moicha be'elam Hashem. That they see that the koyach and everything they do is the Eibishter. Mika moicha be'elim Hashem. When they're fighting, they also see the Eibishter. The Eibishter, and everything we do, we should see that it should be Hashem keil oilam.